beginning, I do not know everything. I do not, So please, Ify.
Yes. So first question that we had was from Ayo. She says that what are examples of consequences your children would have faced if they did not come back upstairs? You talked about this when you spoke about playtime at the time you stipulated. So remember when you gave the example about your children?
Yes, I do. It wasn't something wow. It's very simple. Tomorrow you're not going downstairs to play. It's as simple as that. Being boys, I have 5 boys. Being boys, you can imagine play. So it was a big issue for them. They won't go downstairs to play tomorrow. That was it. And if peradventure you don't switch off the TV at the appropriate time, you are not going to watch the next day. They were just simple consequences. It wasn't good. Sometimes it could just be go to the naughty corner to spend a few hours. But after a while, I found that they were enjoying the naughty corner, so I took that out.
So we need to keep learning and unlearning. If you try something, it doesn't work, you try something else.
Yes.
I guess what you're saying here is that the consequences should match the crime as well as the child. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if that was suitable for you. If you feel you need other comments, please put it in the chat. Calista asked, how do you take care of a child with a very bold personality? Yes, I'm listening very carefully because this one too, I need
it. Oh, well, I have plenty of them. So it was because it runs in the family, from my husband's family. They're very bold and you need to channel. Sometimes being bold may be negative. So you need to channel that boldness into positivity. You let the child understand that, yes, you may be bold. There are certain things that don't have to be said, and so, and you can say those things with your friends, so not with adults, so we juggle around that boldness, where it should be and where it shouldn't be, understanding that you don't talk to your elders this way. There's a certain way to greet. You cannot say hi to your parents' friends. You need to greet properly. Good afternoon, ma. Good afternoon, sir. If your friends, you can say hi to them. If you can ask questions, let me take, for instance, yesterday a child was being pranked, and the child, being a very bold child, was able to say, I think you are pranking me, So sometimes we need to understand the children, the circumstances at the time that bold and character came, and then you address it that way.
We do it a lot.
Sorry,
good morning.
Even
on Friday, you did it. Good morning. Good morning. You say that to your mates, not to like. Can you tell grandma good morning?
Laura, please, can you mute?
I'm so sorry, please. I'm so sorry. I was just correcting. I was just correcting a baby here. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Okay.
She was repeating what I said to the child because I could hear her loud and clear.
Yes. Yes, I like our parents here, very proactive. As we are saying it, they are doing it immediately. So another question, I hope, Calista, that this was addressed. What I understood Madam Chinelo to say is there's a time and place for boldness. We shouldn't necessarily kill the boldness, but we should appropriate it, give them the opportunity to express themselves, but at the same time, it has to be done respectfully and in the proper place. Amaka asked, how do you make your children listen and obey you without having to shout?
It didn't just come at once, my dear.
Open your ears very carefully.
It didn't come at once, my dear. I didn't do it alone. I did it with the help of my husband. I don't know how many people are in Solere, who live in Solere in this group. But then when my kids were younger, you dare not get up from the pew in church. It wasn't heard of. You cannot get up from the pew, not we, because what we did was that before we leave for church, you take some sort of beverage. The children eat before going to mass. That's if they are not communicants. Then communicants are those who go for Holy Communion. So these are things, measures we took. So the child will go to church. It was very difficult for you to, if you have to get up from the pew, it's really, really that you want to go and wee. If you have found out that you didn't wee, but you just wanted to stretch out your leg, like I said, I didn't do it alone. I did it with the help of my husband. When a man looks straight into the eyes of the children and say no, they understand the message that when mother says no, the mother can, by the way, fall off and then allow the child to go have his or her way. So I didn't do it alone. I did it with the help of my husband, who was firm in saying no to the children. And that brings me to some aspect that you should be able to say no to your children no matter what. Okay, so I didn't do it alone. Just it's a gradual thing. The children will learn, and after a time they'll fit in, and you see them on their own. They're not going to get up to go and wee. They're not going to do this. And once they know that, and I had a boss then who has 12 children at that time. She told me that once you start raising your voice well and above, high and above that of your children, the kids have won the argument. So that stuck in my head. Why would I allow my child to win an argument? Why will I allow my child to have the day, And then there's this quote that I saw: why lose your temper if at the end of the day you displease you annoy everybody and annoy yourself, and you get sick, and eventually you need to find back your temper. Of what use has it been? So all these were the things that helped me, that shaped how I handle some of the situations that were under control. So I hope I'm answering your questions, please. These are personal experiences. They may not work for you, or they may, okay?
I believe you're addressing
yes,
them, at least from my observer perspective. And let me also say, for those who are in the WhatsApp community, Tuesdays and Thursdays will be especially dedicated to extending the conversations. Other days you can ask questions and we can attend to them, but to have the formal conversation on WhatsApp where you can go back and you can bring up specifics and we can address specifics in line with this topic, who exactly is a parent. I see some questions being asked that would likely be addressed in our other subsequent topics. We can't exhaust Madam Chinelu. I mean, she has wealth of experience. We will have access to her in the WhatsApp group, and hopefully she'll be able to answer us in her time. But we know that this is 5:37. We will take as many questions as we can, but please try to keep them on topic so that we can maximize this time and be respectful of everyone's time. So the next question is, how often do we allow, this is from Marian, how often do we allow the child to have her way, considering the ripple effect is back on us parents emotionally and financially? The heartache caused by the consequences not be here.
Sorry, can you take that again? You were breaking at a point. I didn't get that.
She's referring to the opportunity when you say that children, both children should be allowed to express themselves sometimes. And her question was, how often do we allow the child to have her way, considering the ripple effect is back on us parents emotionally and financially? The heartache caused by the consequences no be here.
Oh, well, see, like I said, everything that you do, just put it in the hands of God. Sometimes it's difficult, I must tell you. It's actually difficult. Um, it's um, it's difficult, I must say, absolutely difficult. You can imagine when you have sent a child to school and the child says he's not going to school anymore. What do you do? Even if you want to enforce, you must finish that degree. You're doing it on your own. The child will go back to school, but will never attend lectures. So what do you do? So it's at this point that you need to unlearn. You need to unlearn and find out, why is this child not eager to finish up his degree? Are there other factors militating against this? So you need to unlearn, because you remember the preacher parent who wants to be perfect at all times, who cares about what people have to say about her and her family, or his or her family. So this is something you need to understand, unlearn, and find out why. Yes, it could be difficult. If I refer you to the story of the prodigal child, it was an expensive venture. The father has given him everything that he needed to get his paternity, his patronymy. He has taken everything and squandered it, and yet came back and was given a befitting welcome. It is the grace of God. But if you dwell on the fact that this child has squandered his life away, you are the one who will suffer. The child has moved on. The child has moved on. You are the one suffering. And that's why you need to be the hero parent, because it takes a lot of heroism to get to that. Can you imagine if one day your daughter, I have a friend whose daughter is schooling abroad. One day, out of the two parents, she knows the father is the one who will be calmer to receive this news. So she called her father and says, I am pregnant. And father said, okay, what do you want us to do? What do you want us to do? How do you want us to help you? It was a matter of, it wasn't a matter of, you got pregnant after all that I have taught you. You were brought up, we went to the best schools, you went to a faith-based school, you did this, you did that, you that. No, the question, when the father was sharing this with me, I was like, oh my goodness. He said, how do you want us to help you? And he said, Daddy, I don't know, but I'm sorry. So the father went back to the mother and said, look, Kasala don't bust, but we need to help this girl. What do we do? So when it was time, 2 months before she had her baby, the mother had to go there, be with her because she's in school. She has to go to school, be with her. So the question I kept asking myself, what if this girl, she's abroad, she can walk into any abortion clinic and remove that baby. But because she's been brought up in a godly manner, she knows that abortion is not an option. Therefore, she called her father and said, this has happened. She could have removed it and cleaned her mouth. Nobody would know she chopped and vomited. Simple. So that does it. It's not easy, but it's doable. That's all I can tell you. It's not easy, but it's doable.
Yeah. Sorry, let me just add something to this. As parents, right, one of the things is that when situations arise, we tend to forget that the first thing to do is ask God for guidance. Because you see, there are situations that are there specifically as a learning curve for both you, the parent, and the child. Someone put in the comments that some mistakes are very good learning opportunities. Just like Madam Chinelo said, that girl could have just, taken out that baby and nothing would have happened. Nobody would have said anything. Nobody would know. But as a testament to the efforts that the parents have put in her, she confessed what happened. They are children, they are human beings. We all make mistakes. Most of us, our mistakes, if we had social media in our time, our mistakes would be there for the whole world to see. But we were blessed not to have been born in that time. And so we cover our mistakes and we pretend like everything is all well and good. Human beings will make mistakes. We are fallible. We are not infallible. As parents, we should show mercy and kindness. Yes, we will set the boundaries with firmness. We will implement the consequences with empathy and kindness. When your child sees that when the chips are down, mommy and daddy, or mommy or daddy, as the case may be, has my back, they will be more inclined to defer to you. Their children, they will test boundaries, they will push. But when they see that you look at the situation, you're not just saying because I said so, and you address the situation with kindness, you give way sometimes when it's not a heaven or earth matter. When the issue becomes serious and you insist, they will tend to listen. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen gradually. One day you just realize that I've not even shouted today. For those that say that they shout, I used to be a shouting mother. Like that was my default talk. But these days I don't shout. I don't shout. I have my ways to get them to do things that have nothing to do with shouting, and I think it's even actually more effective because sometimes they're just tired of me. So it's a process. Okay, next question. We have plenty of questions. So ladies, are we all here for these questions? Or do we want to leave those who want to hear questions and permit those who want to go? It's your choice. I know some people will want to learn from the questions, but I think given that it's 5:45, we may also officially close this session and then leave room for those who want to stay on so that we can learn more. Is that a good compromise? Can I hear responses, please? Are people okay with that? Okay, great. So thank you, Mrs. Chinelo. Your wealth of experience and wisdom was very evident, and I'm sure we all really learned a lot. Please, people, show us love on social media, screenshots, tell us what you've been doing, and tag your post with GPS 2023. If you really enjoyed this session, then please come back again next week, same time. Invite your friends, invite your family members, other parents in your school, because remember, their children form part of your children's community. So if we as parents form a community of wholesomeness and godliness, our children will have a community of wholesomeness and godliness, and we will all benefit. So bring as many people as possible. We are here for them. If you have any challenges, please reach out to me personally or mention it in the WhatsApp group. We will take care of it. So we're officially closed for the day, but we'll keep answering the questions as we go on. Thank you, everyone. So next question. Today is today. Someone says, sorry, I'm just trying to, because I've taken note of many of them. Amaka says, how do you get your children to enjoy prayer?
Well, I don't know which denomination you are, if you're a Christian or if you're a Catholic. I grew up in a home where my father never went to church. My mother was one who was a prayer warrior. And as we got older, we didn't even like praying again because, when mothers pray, they pray for longer hours than when fathers do pray. And I had a father who wasn't praying. So we tilted towards our dad who wasn't praying because that meant we wouldn't pray. But as I got older and I understood the essence of prayer, it became more. For children, I'll recommend this book, God and Children. First of all, we give the children, just like when we have a baby, a newborn, we don't make, even if we're giving the child a baby formula, go and look at the quantity of meals you should use, the number of cups of milk you should put, 0 to this there's a quantity, and as the child gets older, the quantity increases. And that's how prayer should be introduced to children in small doses. Very soon they'll be the ones leading the prayers. And when they lead the prayers, they would own the prayers. But if you want them to say the entire rosary or the entire 1 hour devotion you have, will work. Because at the time, the children would just abandon that prayer for you, and especially if their father isn't involved, So if you don't have an involved praying father, when these children are teenagers, except the one that God has said, you're different too, you'll be praying all your life. That's the one that will be beside you. Others will just give you space, But if you introduce it gradually, they own it. And then what we did also was to have a timetable of who leads the prayer for the day. So once it's, if a child says a certain part of prayer, you can ask the child to say, oh, you can leave, your prayer time is over. And then the child decides to leave, just like if he has told us we can exit, and I can see the number is still where it was, just only 7 people have left, probably because they have other engagements, so you see that the child will now begin to own the prayer, because they look forward to when they will be the one in charge of leading the prayer, and it makes it fun for them as well. They get the books ready, they get whatever you could need to use for prayer. They do get that, and eventually they own the prayers in small doses. Please don't force the children to spend lengthy hours. You say a decade, a certain part of the prayer, let them go. You as an adult who can withstand longer period of prayer can continue. And remember that for those, sorry if I keep on, because you have to use my own faith to make give examples. Pope John Paul II, who is now a saint, how did he get his vocation? Because he saw his father praying. We never heard him say his father made him to pray. He saw his father praying. So the kids also need to see us sincerely pray and make prayer very, very attractive. But when we make prayer as a chore, they will run away. Because even me, as old as I am now, even sure self, you may give me a task and I'm not ready to do it, I will not do it. So if they see prayer as a chore, it won't be attractive and you cannot hold them down. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent answer. So another person has asked, what am I expected to do at this early stage? This is Lope. My son is just 3 months. What is expected of me to do in his first 3 to 6 months and 1 year? At least at this stage, he can't hear and understand because he's still a baby. Are there activities that will help build him emotionally?
Oh, he's 3 months. He can hear you.
Even in the
he
tummy.
can feel you. He can feel you. He can hear you. So you need to be careful what you say, and your emotions around the child. I remember when I had my late mom used to say, if you're upset, the child will suckle that anger from your breast milk. Yes. My mother always told me that. So we have to be very careful. For the baby, you can, when it comes to emotion, be careful how you feel around the child and all that. I don't know if that was an old wives' tale of babies suckling the anger of their mother. I don't know if it is, but whatever it is, it just shows that from the womb, science has shown that children who are creative started from the womb. And what did their parents do? Play classical music. So if from the womb they can understand the classical music, they can understand anger emotions when they're 3 months and beyond, first day of life, to be precise. So when it comes to emotion, we should be careful, even with our older children. Then when it comes to teaching them spiritually, you can just make the sign of the cross on the forehead. You're the parent. God has given you that power to bless your child, and also allow your husband to do same for that child, which is also very important. For the younger ones, a simple sign of the cross. I was watching a YouTube shorts. A Muslim father was watching the daughter, and each time she did something, I think first of all, she picked up her mother's powder, or she picked up, I can't remember what it was, but what she was doing was the process of getting to pray in the Muslim way. Well, the father didn't understand it until eventually she saw, not more than 2 or 3 years, tie her head tie, bring out the mat, knelt down. There's something they call it in the in the Islam, knelt down to say the Muslim prayer. And that's when the father understood those processes that his child was taking. So what we do, how we model our lives for our children is quite important. So my dear, your child sees and feels you. So do what is right all the time around that child. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And also there's a lot you can also do, in terms of digital presence. Many parents say, oh, because they are babies, let's keep TV for them. They like the cartoons a lot. They pack them in front of the TV and get busy. Please, we would like you to abstain from that. That's a dangerous trend. We have facts now where parents, a lot of these spectrum conditions, autism and the like, are being triggered by excessive TV watching. So we need to be mindful of things like that, so that we don't encourage that. Engage them in real life play, engage them in activities outside, engage them in interaction, things that involve interactions with human beings. So I just wanted to add that we can extend that conversation in our 21st century parenting class, but I wanted to mention that so that we don't miss it. Okay, so Emily says she has a question to do with peer pressure. She's been raising her hand. Emily, can I ask you to unmute so that you can address your question? You can ask your question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ify. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can everyone else hear her?
Yes, I can hear her.
Okay, great.
Yes, we can hear her.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I just want to ask a quick question. So something happened recently, and I've just been thinking about it and how to deal with it. So, this parenting class is just very timely for me. So, my daughter is in a school in Lagos, and I think most of us that have our kids in Lagos will probably know this trend where, they always do like big birthday parties and all. If a child is 5 years or 6 years, 10 years, we have massive birthday parties. I've never been the partying type. I'm not used to that. But once in a while, I take my children for the birthday parties, but not too many times. I mean, sometimes it's back to back, like every weekend. And I just simply choose what weekends, will be available for the parties. And now recently my daughter came from school. A mother distributed birthday, invitation cards in class. And it just happened that my daughter was the only person that did not get an invitation card. And according to her son, she said, you don't attend birthday parties now. And of course, it made my daughter feel really bad. She came home, she cried to me. And then I tried to explain to her that you are a different child. You are not like everybody else. So just because you don't go for all the parties doesn't make you a bad person. Mommy and daddy are trying to do the very best for you. You're not in school to go for parties. You're in school to learn, but it really hurt me as a mother. And I just felt like, can I bring that to this forum and just find out how else I can deal with this? Because this May, for instance, almost every weekend, there is a party. Even the public holiday, there is a party. Like, I cannot deal with taking my child every weekend for parties. Like, that is what our lives are about. How do you deal with that sort of situation?
Emily, welcome to Reality Zone.
Yes, so
I call it a reality zone because this, can you, Brenda wants to answer this, but before Brenda goes ahead, I just want to say that you're doing the right thing. You're teaching your child to choose what is more important. Because if this child continues the trend of going to party every day, every weekend, the child will think that is the norm. You teach the child to choose what is right. So this, I know Brenda has something to say, so she can go ahead, but I want to congratulate you for standing firm. Remember when I began, I said, teach your child to be an influencer, not an influencee. Thank you.
Thank
Brenda.
you very much, ma'am. Well said. Brenda, we'll ask you to unmute so that you can speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chinelu. Honestly, I just wanted to encourage her that she is doing excellently. Emily, you're doing very well. Honestly, the Lagos trend can be very, it can be choking, and you may even start to question yourself. My son is right now in a class where all of them are turning 10. And so you can imagine it's almost like a party every other week. And we have a rule in our house that if you're invited for a party, I must get a message, either an invitation card or a call from the mother or a text. You cannot just tell me just verbally that I've been invited for a party and you'll go. So you know how these children can be. Sometimes they'll say, oh, we're having a party at Upbeat. And you just tell me. Of course, my son is not going. I'm like, if I don't hear from the mother, he knows my number by heart. So you can give his friend to call, to get mother to call me. If I don't get the call, I don't get the text, I don't get a message from the teacher, you're going nowhere. So it has happened a number of times, and he would cry and I'll say, look, this is the rule in the house and that is what it is. So he has learned. The other day he told me, oh, somebody had a very fantastic birthday in a co-hotel, 10-year-old birthday, they're going to a co-hotel. I mean, you can imagine what's going on in this Lagos. Now they say, oh, there's a 10-year-old birthday in the co-hotel. Mommy, I was not invited. I said, well, it is what it is. If you are not invited, no problem. We go out somewhere else. You know, you just need to continue to encourage your child, right? And they told him the same reason, because you don't come for the other parties we called you for. And I told him our rule is simple. I mean, I've had in the older sisters before, when they would tell me they had a party, you know, I would listen to them, I'll carry them out. I'll call the mother if I had a number, because some of us are on WhatsApp group, and they will say, there's no party, I don't mind these children. So, you know, children can be funny, you know, they can say all kinds. So I don't just do it. And so my children have learned that this is what it is, this is the rule. And as a mother, you set the rules. And I tell my children, if you say this person is doing this, I'll say, what is your own name? Is your name that person's name? No, end of story. You know, that's where the matter ends. So you have to just be sure that this is what you have. I mean, be sure of your values in your house and communicate them to your child. Your child will be fine. She'll be okay. In fact, buy her something nice. Take her out that date. Go to cinema or go to Upbeat for the day and everything. Tell her to clean her eyes. You know, they'll all be fine. They're just children. By next time, this will not even matter anymore. So please, I'm just encouraging you that you're doing very well, and, you know, keep it up with your child. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. Let me also add to the encouragement, because you see, whatever seed you're sowing now, you will reap, especially when they become teenagers. I have 4 of them. I have 2 teenagers, 1 twin, and 2 twins now. That was before pre-teenage. And it has been just like Brenda, my rule is also standing, which is, if your parents, your mom or your dad must talk to myself or the dad. There's no passing message to any child. Any child that says they have a party, the response is, please tell your mother or your father to call myself or the dad. And until we establish connection and we agree, we will not be going anywhere. The other thing is, for my kids, as a family, and my husband and I make it a point of duty to know our children's core friends. I mean, your children cannot be friends with everybody, no matter what state. They will play with everybody, but you as a parent, you would know their core friends. So what we do is we go out of our way to know the parents of our children's core friends. If we see that their values align, they become family friends. So there's no way that a family friend is having a party and they're not getting in touch with us directly. There's no way. And when they do, there's no way we will not attend. So when we say no to our children, they understand. And I'll use an example that happened with my daughter last month. In this Japa season, my children are having to face the reality that at least once a month, somebody is leaving the class. And there was one of her friends in class, or her classmates, because I won't say it's her friend, and I will tell you why as we go along. And she was leaving, and some of the other classmates were organizing a get-together at Pavarotti's without adult supervision. So she didn't bother to tell me about it. But one day she just casually mentioned that this person is leaving, but I didn't tell you because I knew you won't allow me to go. And I said, why? Why did you say so? He said, well, because there were no adults there, or there was no plan for adults to be there. And I know that the rule is that you can't attend any function that there's no adult. I said, good. Now let's take this step further. I said, this person that you're talking about that is going, I haven't met her. She hasn't come to the house, which means she's not in your core circle of friends. If she was in your core circle of friends, I mean, like 3 weeks before then, another one of her very good friends was relocating, and I and the driver took her. And I stayed, in fact, the journey was so long, we were in so much traffic. When I got to the mother's house, I said, see, well, I'm very tired. She said, don't worry, I'm packing. Don't worry yourself. You want to lie down a bit. She opened her bedroom, gave me room, fed me in the room. I slept. That's how we established rapport with our children. I mean, my daughter is in year 10, that's SS1. We've known this family for 4 years, closely. So as a parent, you help your children sift the chaff from the core ones. Once your child knows that, it is for my core people, nothing is happening, mommy and daddy will move heaven and earth. It will help ease the tension about all the Mugbomoya parties where everybody's trying to, show up or show off whatever they are doing. Lagos is a very tough place. Actually, anywhere in the world right now is a tough place to raise children. So it's good to establish your family values and entrench them in your children early so that even when you're not there, they understand your whys and they would implement them accordingly. So yes, Emily, as you can see, you're in a very good group. We're all supporting you. Don't let anybody intimidate your child. Set your values, explain it to your child, and they will grow to live with it and even get comfortable with it. So next question is from Calista. How do you cope with children of different ages, 28, 20, 19, graduates and undergraduates, teens, 14, and lastly, 8 years or more? This is a serious one. Auntie Chinelo, I think you're the one that will handle this one. I have no experience whatsoever in this age bracket.
Can you repeat that question again? I only heard the ages. I didn't know what came.
Then how do you cope with children of different ages? So the ages are 28, 20, 19, 14, and 8 years under your care. How do you deal with them with respect to mentorship, guiding, and amidst this social media era?
It's a tough one, especially when the 28. I recently banned my daughter from using her phone. It sounded easy because her phone was in my room. Then our older ones were giving her their phones for her to use. So what do you do? So I had to call a meeting to say, your sister has done something, and the consequences of doing this is to withhold her phone for a period of time, and you people are violating that rule. So they said they didn't know, because usually when something happens, I take you to the room and admonish you and give you the consequences. So they said they didn't know that I didn't carry them along. Therefore, that's why they were wondering what happened to her phone. They thought she didn't have data, and since they were working or doing something else and didn't need their phone, she had access to it. So you can imagine how smart this girl is. It's okay, you've taken my phone. My brothers are there to give them to me, to give me a phone to use. So when we do this, we need to carry the family along. Periodic family meetings to help the children understand at what point this person, the 28-year-old, you can't ask the 28-year-old to drop his or her phone with you in your house, because as an adult, if all things being equal, shouldn't be in your house, should have rented his own apartment. If he's a girl, okay, it's understandable she's still at home, but if he's a guy, he needs to start thinking of leaving home and doing something. And this is where it comes that we need, as parents, when we have older children, we need to start preparing them to live on their own. Not because they can't take care of themselves, it's because we are afraid that they cannot take care of themselves. They can take care when they were in the university, where you weren't there with them 24/7. If the person is gainfully employed, what can the person do? How is the person contributing to the maintenance of the house, and so on and so forth? So for everything that happens, you need to have a meeting to carry everyone along. But please do not admonish anybody in the presence of others. it negates that mentorship that you're looking for. Take the person to your room. If daddy needs to be involved, involve the daddy. I know children don't like their daddies being involved, especially when they have done something bad. They just want the mother to bear all the pains of that bad behavior. But if it's the one that daddy needs to know, you'd have to let the daddy know and then tell him how he should handle it. So please, I have 3 generations in my house. 2 have graduated, 2 are in the university, 2 are in secondary school. So when you're giving, if there's a need to address an issue, probably a bad behavior or a bad, something that is unbecoming with a particular person, you address it with the person first. And if there's a punishment, you need to tell the people, the other members of the family that something has happened and this is what is going to come out of it. So everybody, they may not know the person, they may know because they don't like snitching on each other. Because I have more boys than I have only one girl anyway. The men don't snitch, boys don't snitch. So, and my daughter being the last of the 6 children, she is more or less acts like a boy. So she too does not snitch. But if I get to know that something has happened, I will not snitch, but I'm going to put in a general content that this is what has happened and this is the consequences, which they already know. Another thing to do again is the issue of timetable. Please, because me, I don't have energy. So I have timetable of what each person should be doing. So all I do is go to the timetable and find out who is in charge. So if somebody is in charge, then the person takes responsibility of the consequences that is accrued to that action. So that's what I do, So it's all again. That's why I said you have to relearn and unlearn. You have to keep on learning and going with the flow of the circumstances you find yourself. And also, you'll be surprised when the children are gathered together discussing you. You'll be surprised that they know what they're doing and they know that you too know what you're doing. So never be afraid. Just be the hero parent. You see the characteristics of the hero parent. Just be the hero parent who understands the circumstances which find ourselves in today's parenting and how to navigate around it and how to help the child without punishment. Remember, you have punishment. Joy Makinde, please, you're such a funny woman. Please don't worry, it doesn't matter whether you have 1 boy or 2 boys or 5 boys, all are the same. You will go, just ask God to help you and then continue to be in this community that if he has created so that you can do your best. You're not going to be a perfect parent. Nobody is. Even the person that has 50 children is not a perfect thing. It doesn't mean he has parented better than you with 1 child. It doesn't mean that. So thank you.
Very well said, ma'am. I like the part where you said continue to be in the community. And I'm saying this not because it's our community, but because, you see, what we have realized in this era is that children are doing things in community. If you tell your child don't do this, guess what the first thing they're going to do, especially if they are social media children? They will go to their WhatsApp or their social media group. Can you imagine? Mommy said this. And then they'll have plenty of advice of how they will counteract. So it's not you versus your child, it's you versus your child's community. So parents, we have to form community so that when the child tells us, you come and say, can you imagine what this child said? And we'll arm you with different scenarios, plus the ones that have happened to us, plus you will get the different variants and then you will know how to address it. And even if you don't get a solution, you will get encouragement. See the case with Emily. Emily probably thought she was being, an exception to the cause. But in this community, she has found more than enough people who are doing exactly the same thing, who have older children. So community is great. Human beings were never built to go at it alone. So as parents, you need to find that community that can support you with similar values, similar mindsets, so that you gather strength, knowledge, skills, encouragement from that community. Okay, another one. My question is, my children will be 2 in July. How can I stop them from having their way all the time? For instance, when one of them, the twin, says he or she wants tea, The other will join and they will stop and cry until they have what they want. Dynamic duo.
Am I taking that? Let me tell
Okay,
you.
let me take that.
The
Let me take that. So the thing is this, Mama. First of all, before we say anything, I will tell you what one of my friends said. I remember when I was pregnant with my last, I almost fainted because I just didn't know how I was going to do it. And all she said was, "Iti, but you know that God allowed this to happen because He knew that you had the capacity to do it." So the first thing is every day look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I am the mother of twins because God knows that I can care for twins. I can care for two children at the same time." Why do you need to say this? Because it's very obvious that they are playing their energies against you. And you need to let them know that you are the mom. When my third child was young, she was the smallest child. She came out at 2.8 kilos. And she was so small for a very long time. Tiny little child. When she wants to misbehave, before you even get upset, she has started crying. And her own kind of crying was rolling on the floor kind of crying. As in, first things first, she would strip. Then she'll start rolling on the floor. So sometimes if you are my friend and you came to visit me, you will just see me casually watching TV and you see one tiny, very energetic child crying and rolling all over the floor. You will first look at me, look at the child, and be very confused because you're like, am I not hearing this cry? This is not disturbing me. I had to get to that point because I realized that for my child at that age, any form of attention was attention. So if I punish her, she will even give her more energy to do what she's doing because at least you're giving her attention. If you carry her, if you give her more energy and support and encouragement. So I decided to just ignore her because I realized that she fed off attention. So what it was I will set the consequences, and for her in particular, the consequences included not engaging with her. Either I'll send her to the naughty corner, I won't even make eye contact. In that small space of the naughty corner, she will remove her dress, she will roll in that corner, she will do everything, but she will not be allowed to be in that corner. The thing is, as a parent, you need to get ahead of the situation. Your children know that if they cry hard enough, you will succumb. So if they cry for 5 minutes and you succumb at the 6th minute, guess what happens tomorrow? If you don't succumb at the 6th minute tomorrow, they will cry for 10 minutes. So you need to let them understand that crying is not a negotiation tool. Being insistent is not a negotiation tool. And children are smarter than you give them credit for. They understand what you're saying. They understand your psychology. They may not be able to express themselves as clearly, but they do. And so you need to always be firm and consistent. Not today, you told them that because they were naughty, they went to naughty corner. Then they do the exact same thing tomorrow, but maybe that day somebody annoyed you. You will now smack them on the bum. That's mixed messaging. Consistency and firmness. Well, anything they do, if it's the first time, educate them, they shouldn't do this, this is not, right. And next time they do it, X, Y, Z will follow. And when they do it, even when it's not convenient, please just take out the time and follow through. Within a very short time, your children will understand that the status quo has changed, mommy is in control, and they cannot be doing anyhow. I don't know if anyone has anything else to add to that. If not, we go to the next question.
That was I didn't want to answer that because that 2-year-olds, I didn't want to sound like a grandma.
Yeah.
But that was the approach out, because when my kids were young, they were like, cry blue blood, or Oyo is your name. When you finish, you wipe your eyes and go sit down. I'm not going to budge, I'm not going to say, oh, so stop crying, that. No, don't do that. Because once you do, they manipulate you and they have you at their fingertips and do whatever they want, and you keep on dancing to their tune, So, and you become the sponsor parent. You do everything money can give, Be the hero, take the backlashes, do whatever it is that is right, and don't care how people perceive you, and do what is right. That's all.
Yeah.
Sorry, there is a question I saw. Somebody said if I could share the template of my timetable. I'm not in Lagos where the timetable is on the wall where everybody can see that, but we have two timetables, timetable of when we're on holidays and timetable of when we're in school. So you just know the chores that your children should do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and on a monthly basis when in and out of school. So you have two timetables. I don't know what your chores are like. I don't know if you have somebody that does the cleaning. But one thing I know for sure is that once the children are, if you have younger children, after they finish playing with their toys, let them pick up their toys themselves. And when they eat, let them pick up their plates and take it to the kitchen. If they can wash plates at that time, let them start to wash plates. So these are little shows. Begin to study your family, begin to study your children, and then begin to draw your timetable. Because what my timetable now is timetable of older children, not younger ones, but I'll still share when I get to Lagos.
Thank you very much. So for those of you in the WhatsApp community, you already see that with the benefit of WhatsApp community, we have expanded and extended learning. And I will say that in as much as your children, ma'am, are older, even for my home, we run on timetables. Many of my close friends knows that everything in my house runs on a schedule. So, and yes, you have different timetables for holiday versus timetables for school time. So children thrive on consistency. They thrive on regime. Sorry, please, who is this? Could you? Okay. They thrive on, consistency. They thrive on schedules, on regime, because subconsciously their body is prepared for what they know is coming. Doesn't mean they will not try to, negotiate or any of that, but they will eventually accept and work with it. So we will share the schedule in the WhatsApp group when she has it. Now I have a question from Techno. Please, whoever is Techno, I will take your question today because your questions are cogent questions. But I had announced several times that you need to change your name to your actual name so that we can identify people. So please, just change your name if you're still in the group so that we can match you eventually when we're auditing. This is a safe space. As you can see, we are sharing real life experiences. We want to be sure that whoever is here with us is someone that is actually here with us and accountable to us. So Techno is asking, my 4-year-old daughter is a bold, outspoken girl. We've taught her from when she was younger that fighting is bad, but other kids are taking advantage of that to bully her. Of recent, I told her to fight back. I felt bad because she looked confused. How do I handle this? You also asked later, please, do I teach my 4-year-old to physically defend herself when she's bullied? I really need answers. She's bold and outspoken, so attracts a lot of kids to herself. Ma'am Chilero is not here, but I would take my time to answer that. I have bold children. In fact, I always tell people I have 4 bold children. It's just that they express their boldness in different manners. So they do naturally attract people to themselves. But as we had mentioned earlier, there's boldness and there's disrespect. You need to, as a parent, really look at your child character and utterances. Are you sure that boldness is boldness and not bordering on disrespect? Is it because that they are bold, they are allowed to say everything, even if it's not the right place or the right manner? I'm starting from there, not because I'm blaming your child. I'm just putting it out there that that's the first port of call. Do the internal, due diligence. Be sure that your child's boldness is just that they advocate for themselves, for example, advocate for others, and they do it in a respectful manner. Now, that being said, bullying is a no-no, no matter what your child has done. If your child is being bullied, I saw the response in the comments. Someone said, take it up with the school, and I 100% agree. A school should have zero tolerance for bullying, especially when that bullying is physical. If your child is in a school that does not have zero tolerance for bullying, perhaps you want to now consider taking that child out of there. There is no scenario where bullying is acceptable, whether it's physical bullying or verbal bullying. None of that is acceptable, cyberbullying. And if the school is not willing to take action, then perhaps you want to move your child to a safer school for that child. Please do not teach your child to physically defend themselves. You are only making the situation worse, and you are raising up a character trait in your child that will lead to worse scenarios later in life. By the time the child is old enough to not to do that, then it might become an instinctive character trait. So please don't. I hope we were able to address that, Techno. Next person was Grace. How do you know the age appropriate expectations? Well, you have started the first thing, which is being in a community where you have older parents, younger parents, a community of parents. As your children grow and as you interact with parents, one thing I know that helped me was I always have a group of older moms, especially, whom I respect a lot, whom I look up to and seek advice. So that keeps me prepared for a lot of things. Of course, you will never be 100% prepared for everything, but it will help you, know that you are not in this alone, and whatever it is you are going through is not strange. I would also say, keep praying about it. Also read up, with a good community with God and with an open mind, ready to learn and unlearn and relearn. You will always know what the expectations are for your children, a typical age bracket, and what the expectations are for your unique child's personality. Because while we're looking at things based on what we typically do, we also have to remember that each child is unique. Some might be slower, some might be faster, some might need firmer hand, some might need, more encouragement. So that's what we need to take from that. For anyone whose expectations are not being met, I would suggest that if you're in the WhatsApp group, bring it up in the WhatsApp group so that we can begin to round up this class. We've stayed 1 hour beyond time. I have some people who said their children are lazy with their studies. How can I help him? I believe about 3 or 4 people had boys who are lazy with studies. Now, the thing about boys is that you find study monotonous. So it's not necessarily be that they're lazy with studies as much as that they're easily distracted. So when you say go and study, they are looking for all the reasons why they should not study. Don't worry, I have my own. We keep at it every day in, day out. We keep, applying all the things that we've agreed on. So what has worked for me is work in progress, but we're seeing some progress. Is that for my children, once you finish primary 6, the first thing I do with my children is you write your CV. Oh, yes, you have to write your CV. Because for them, I've always drummed it into their ears that you are setting your permanent record. You can't change those grades once you've earned them. So that act of writing a CV after primary school reinforces that, because they look at it on paper, it's there in black and white, you can't change anything. And then we go into secondary school with the zeal to do better, write a better story. If you have done well in primary school, maintain the story. Now, of course, by the time they enter and the workload comes and everything, they get distracted. And so for me, I also have my worksheets where I keep their exams, their results, we track. At the beginning of every term, we agree on a target for every subject, as well for continuous assessments as well as for exams. Why we do this is because for boys, they get distracted. If you wait till the end of the term before you start analyzing, by the time they've done week 1, week 2, they are forgotten. But if you have that and you're tracking and you say, oh, this test, this is what you got. That means next test, you need to get this. You have to micromanage them until they are able to find their own learning styles. Girls tend to do that quicker and sometimes independently. But for boys, you will need to help them. You need to literally draw a picture for them to see what they need to do, and then do it in bite sizes. Okay, study 1 hour after school, study another 1 hour after dinner. Don't just, most boys, unless they are, specially created, most boys won't want to sit down more than 1 hour to study. So I don't know if this will help, but those are some of the things that have helped with my own son. and we keep him accountable. We remind him the reasons why he needs to get good grades. He also, well, he has said he knows what university he wants to go to. Of course, we know that it could change, but we've gone to the website, we've gone to the school, we said these are the entrance criteria. This is what you need to do. So the ball is in your court. And then if you want to go to a school that is paying big school fees, my children know, I always tell them, there are 4 of you. I cannot pay school fees of if I had only one child. So anything beyond a certain point, you better be thinking scholarships. And we keep reminding them. So they have a goal that they're working towards. They are focused on that goal. It helps. It doesn't mean that they won't get distracted. It doesn't mean that you won't have to come back, but at least the conversation is consistent. You have a target, you have a plan, they know what the plan is, and then you keep them focused. Of course, the other side is you encourage them. In my home, we have targets for those who get at least 80% average and above. When you get that, there are certain things we would have agreed on. Your luxuries are tied to performance. Your needs we will provide anytime, any day. But those luxuries, they are tied to performance. So that way, when the child wants that really good thing that they really, really want, they remember that they need to also, do something to achieve that. So for all those parents who have children who are struggling, I hope that has helped. If it hasn't, again, can you come up in the WhatsApp group? Perhaps we can have more parents who have, ways that they dealt with this and they are willing to share. Ladies, gentlemen, will we continue? I have about, I think 5 or 6
If
more
you please,
questions.
let me add,
Yes.
Sorry, I want to address those who said their children are lazy in their studies. As an educator, one thing because I educate more teachers than children, I want to say that if you find a child who is not enthusiastic or eager to learn or study, there must be a learning, I don't want to use the word disability, challenge that both the teacher and the parents are not observing. So when a child is not eager to learn, you need to discover your child's learning styles. Because once you discover your child's learning styles, I'll give you an example of my second son, who is a graduate, by the way, that when he was in university, he was two opposites. What do I mean by two opposites? He was mathematically inclined and had nothing to do with anything that had to do with writing English. He ran away from those things. But eventually we found out that you could search questions in a mathematical way for an English subject, and he will get it. So at that point, the first time when he was in secondary school, I had gone to school. He was in a boarding school. I'd gone to the school, and beside his continuous assessment, his CA, they wrote SL. I didn't know what else. In fact, that I got into education was because of this child. I didn't know what SL was. So SL is slow learners. Well, these slow learners are what we call the processors these days. They are the ones who process it. It takes them about the time. But we don't appreciate that because we enjoy children giving us answers at the snap of our fingers. And there are people who need to process it before they answer, and then we're just here saying this child is lazy. Find out how your child wants to learn. It's difficult, I must tell you. But if you can find it out and the child recognizes that this is my learning style, you see that that child becomes a high flyer. And you will have no business, even lesson teacher. It may surprise you that I never use lesson teachers for my children. In fact, when I felt that my 5th child wasn't doing well and I brought a lesson teacher, when you say you frustrate somebody, my child frustrated that lesson teacher. The lesson teacher gave up and said he wasn't coming again. And the boy looked at me in my eyes and said, "Mommy, you want me to have good grades?" I said, "Yes, I'll surprise you." And he did surprise me. And he's still surprising all of us till today. So you need to find out your child's learning style. Once you find that out, then I saw somebody, I don't know if it was Brenda that said that, he said, find out if you are dedicating and not dictating. So these are things that we need to do. Sometimes we want to box the children in the same compartment. Meanwhile, they are just different, unique, lovable, wonderful, encouraging, adorable children, but we just want them to be high flyers without finding what the challenge they may be having. Thank you.
Yeah, perfectly said, ma'am. Perfectly said. And when she said learning style, so for example, it's same Brenda, one of her kids, to jumpstart her learning, she had to read her child's note and record them, because she noticed that when she read her child's notes aloud for her, she was able to assimilate better. So what they did was she recorded her voice reading her child's note. And this child is in secondary school, by the way, so this is not the young child. And children have learning preferences. We have some who are visual learners. We have some of my kids, when they are struggling with voluminous notes, we go to YouTube and look for a video that breaks it down. So as a parent, your child needs to know that you are invested in really trying to help them learn. Children like to learn. That's a default. Like Ms. Chinelo said, many who don't like to learn, there's usually a challenge, but they like to learn. The thing is, you need to help your child unbox their learning style. And like I tell my children every day, there are two most important things you will get out of academic learning, even more important than the physics, science, accounts, economics. How to source knowledge and learning how you learn. Because once you are able to do that, then you can rinse and repeat when you're an adult. In any situation you find yourself, you can source the knowledge and you know how you can assimilate it. That gives you an edge above any other person. So as parents, your primary duty for your child, far and above the A's, and when I say far and above the A's, I'm not saying the A's are not important, but if you can unlock that learning, you realize that they would likely even get those grades easier in quote, So look at your children, study individually, try to see what makes them excited, and then try to help them translate that into their learning so that they can love to learn for learning's sake, not because they have grades to pass because the point of schooling is to expose you to as much as possible so that at a minimum, you know what, even if you don't know what you want, you will know what you don't want, and then you can start narrowing down to what you want to do in life. If they don't expose you to as much as possible, then there might be things out there that are suited for you that you will never know. So as parents, you need to help your children understand the point of an education so that they are motivated to learn, and then you also help them understand how to learn and how to source that information. So I believe that would help all the parents who have challenges. How can I deal with a child who always screams when talking? Screaming is virtually his talking way. I believe there are some parents too that also said something about shouting. They want to be able to talk to their children without shouting, because I believe it's all in the same conversation. So, ma'am, would you want to take that, or should I?
If you don't shout, you're not a parent too. Once in a while, shout. But you need to find out if the child is enjoying the shouting. Because if the child is enjoying the shouting, that means the child is in control. But if the child notices that not all the time you shout, and then sometimes there are body communication, body signs communication, just an eye looking at that child, the child gets the message and sits down, knows that you're not even in the mood for this child today. That if you now have to do one more eye communication, he's done for. The child gets it and sits down and does whatever So it's not every time that you shout, you need to balance it. But more, try to use more non-verbal communication to discipline that child. Please, at this point, I would like to differentiate between punishment and discipline. Most of us punish, we don't discipline. If I tell you that in all my life, my father never flogged me, but when my father says, come into my room, I'm doomed for. He's going to have a 1-hour discussion with you. And that 1 hour discussion for the rest of that month or even year, you're still pondering. You're meditating on it. In fact, not even pondering. You're meditating on that 1 hour discussion. Unlike my mother that will shout and shout, but about that she will shout or she will flog, you know. So she's punishing us. She's not disciplined, you know. So our father was the one who did more of discipline than punishment, you know, because my mother knew that the only way she could get us to conform was either by flogging, asking us to kneel down, or any other corporal form of punishment. But my father never flogged us. He never gave us any corporal punishment, but he always spoke to us. And for the younger one, especially those with the younger children, there's time, like if he has said, just bone that child. Bone the child and forget him, you know. And when he knows that you does the first time, the first time he may even destroy something, keep that thing. Make sure you keep it. When that child grows up, say, because you did the seeds, this is it. And the child will be very sorry. So please, don't shout all the time so they don't get used to it. And let me say something. Once your son is 10 years old, he doesn't see you as a mother. He sees you as a friend. You're the first girlfriend he will have. You know, so anything you say, the child is looking at you as like one friend like this that is talking to him. But he knows that once his father opens his mouth, he's not friend, he's daddy that is talking. So we need to understand that sometimes that these children are psychologists themselves. And we need to understand them and they need to understand us. Have a chat with that child, especially when they're older. But for the toddlers, you just have to stand your ground, cry if they have to, let the neighbors knock on the door and say, we're not in abroad where they say when they check, they'll call the social workers to come and pick up the child because there's an abusive parent. No, we're lucky. When the neighbor comes and says, I don't know what's wrong with him, I've tried to pacify him, he's not conforming. And if he's a typical Nigerian, the child will be, baby, sorry, and he goes back into his house. That's all. So please, let's not pamper these children too much, because at the end of the day, we're the ones who would suffer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So we're gradually getting there. A very critical
Please, can you
question.
answer Joy Mark? Answer Joy
Yes,
Mark. Is there
yes,
all the
Joy,
methods?
I have
I
Joy.
punish, I do.
Yes, Joy, I have your question. Don't worry. I'm taking it in order of which they appear. I will get to it, please. So someone says, can you have firm foundations? Can you have good, great morals without firm foundation in Christ? That's a serious one. Ma'am? Hello? Okay, she's not here. Let me say what I want to say. It's possible to have good morals, right? Without a firm foundation in Christ. But personally, I feel like when push comes to shove, when the situations become difficult, you know, you will struggle, because there are situations where it's only God's grace that can give you strength. It's only God's grace that can give you strength. We are human beings, we see things from the perspective of human eyes. So only when you call on God for extraordinary grace will you be able to stick with your morals. So you can know it academically, but when it comes to when you are tested, when you are really tested, I feel like it will be a struggle. So the next person, Farida, says, how do I handle my 3-year-old son who's becoming violent in nature, praying to God to preserve his ways to the extent that he raises his hands over his sister, though I beat him whenever he does that? Please, 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 violence begets violence. Perhaps he's beating his sister because she knows that mommy beats him. So you have to stop that cycle. Obviously, it's not working, so there has to be a change. What are those things that he likes? Perhaps you can use that to motivate him to behave better. What are those things he doesn't like? Perhaps you can use that as a consequence management, as long as it's tied. So if, for example, he beats his sister and he likes playing football outside, he can miss his football for the day. Those are ways that you can, get him to conform. So please, I need to drink a cup of water. So he's violent. We need to stop the chain of violence. We need to stop the beating in any form because it is not working. Understand your son, understand what motivates him, and understand what he likes, and try to use that to encourage him to be able to, act in a better manner. When he does well, praise him profusely. So as parents, we need to understand, for every time we scold, we must have praised at least 5 to 10 times. So when your child is doing well, let them know you are happy. You have done well today. You are calm today. Well done. That's my big man. And see how you are behaving like a very good young man. Yeah? Men are calm. They don't play rough, and I'm proud of you. By the time you have said that every time he's doing well, by the time he's not doing well, when you express yourself, he will know that truly mommy is upset. So please, can we stop that cycle of violence? Thank you. Same thing with how can I instill calmness in my son? I mean, a calm attitude. He's 5 years old and easily distracted. He's 5 years old. He will be easily distracted. There's no going around that. The only thing is put structure around around him. There's playtime, there's study time, there's sleep time. Do you send him to bed at a consistent time? So that with time, even your 5-year-old child would know what is expected. In my home, we run schedules for school activities, schedules for home activities. We have timetables for meals. So even when my children were young, they knew that when they got home, this was what they were expected to do. They knew what meals they were expected to eat. So they're never too young to be put on schedules. And schedules will help give that child, structure. So that if it's playtime, they can be distracted and play all very well all through the playtime. But when it's study time, then they have to sit down and study. And please, like Ms. Chinelo said, let your children play. Give them ample time to play. Then when it's study time, they will want to negotiate, of course, but in their heart, they know that they have played. And we are not denying them to play. If you come to my house, it's a mini playground though. Basketball, you did. Football, you did. Table tennis, you did. Swing, go, you did. So once it's playtime, they have all sorts of things. Let's not talk of the board games. Let's not talk of other activities. Playtime is full playtime, so that when it's time for studies, they have no excuses. Let children be children. 5-year-olds will be distracted. Just put some structure so that you can contain the distraction. How can I help? Okay, no, studying. I believe we're getting to joy. The person who wants to help her child love reading, I don't know what age your child is at, but if they are young, start by reading to them. I like the reply that was given. Do you like reading? You have to model all these things. If you don't like reading, then you have to start to learn to like reading. As you are teaching your child to learn to like reading, you need to start learning to like reading, because that is the strongest form of educating your children. Reading is a fantastic hobby, is a fantastic skill. If you read to your children, get books that pique their interest. Don't go and say because this is the best book in town, therefore my child must read this. Some children are visual learners, maybe comics will be better for them. Some, they like short stories. So perhaps you want to buy short stories. I have been able to intentionally work with each of my 4 children. If you come to my house, it's like a mini library. We negotiate buying of books because my pockets are suffered. If I send it, I have one particular child, if she enters any store with me, I know I'm finished because she must come out with at least 1 or 2 books. It's a process. It takes time, but it also takes consistency. Parents, do you notice how we keep saying consistency, consistency? We can't start something and then because we are tired tomorrow, we stop it. You have to be consistent. The minute that habit has formed and it has been latched, that child will have it for life. Someone said her daughter is an introvert. She doesn't really have a friend in her class. She always feels bad about not relating with them, and they bully her a lot. So another thing I want us parents to learn is not to label our children. Why I say so is that you said your child is an introvert. How sure are you your child is an introvert? What exactly is an introvert? If you see me outside, for example, you would assume I'm an extrovert. But guess what? I can be in my house for 48 hours and not move. Would you then say I'm also an introvert? Perhaps the child has not met people that they can relate with, because even every introvert has a person that is their person. So let's not label that child, because you see, once you label your child an introvert, in your own mind, your child is already in a box and can't be helped. But if you say that your child is specific, your child is particular about the kind of friendships they want, then perhaps you have conversations with that child. Perhaps there's somebody that they admire. Then you can, organize play dates or go to or events where you can meet that child, and your child can meet the child in a more relaxing environment. Please, let's not just, classify our children because society loves, in the society we're living in now, if you have not labeled something, you have not finished. Please, let's stop all these labels. Let's just, attend to our children on a case-by-case basis and whatever we see. To me, my 4-year-old son can't stay 20 minutes without playing games or watching cartoons on the phone. He's doing well in school, but I'm concerned about his vision. So my first question, I'm a digital parenting educator. Your 4-year-old child has no business using a phone, even if it's your own phone. It is not good for their eyes. It is not good for their subconscious pattern, behavioral pattern. So, and I know it's going to be very stressful for you, yes. But trust me, the bigger stress is coming in the future. If a 4-year-old is using a phone at this point in time, as a teenager, you are not going to get that child off the phone. So first things first, phone stops today. For whatever digital device you're going to give them, by the time we get to our 21st century parenting class, you will get options of ways you can monitor those devices, ways you can get them to go off automatically, especially if they are Android, Apple, or Google devices. Please, please engage your 4-year-old child in play outside. Let them have fun. Let them engage with human beings. Let them have as little screen time as you can possibly manage, please. Then I believe I have, yes, Joy. When my kids act wrong, I reprimand them, sit them down and talk to them, and I end them telling them a lot of stories, especially about my growing up days. Is this approach okay? Yes. The question is, on the surface, yes, it's okay. The question is it working? Does that mean that the child won't do, I mean, when you tell them these stories and you reprimand them, are you seeing an improvement? I'm not saying they won't do it again, but are you seeing that the frequency is less? Are you seeing that they're trying genuinely to do better? If yes, please keep working. Just keep doing what you do. If it's not working, then perhaps it's time to change tactics a bit. Like we said, we're in a constant state of learning, unlearning, relearning. Each child is different. Each scenario is different. If what you're doing is working and is producing a productive, wholesome child, please, mommy and daddy, continue. If it's not working, except if it's violence or any of those, because it might be giving you results on the surface and might be damaging the child behind the scenes. And then they grow up to be adults with a lot of baggage that they're going to foist upon society and other people. So if it's working for you, yes, please go ahead. Then I have Adobe. My kid acts wrong, I reprimand. No, that's Adobe. Oh, sorry. I believe I answered Adobe's question instead of Joy's question. I use all methods to punish. I discipline, I admonished all together. Joy, I believe that's your question. Well, I would say this, that a method is available or that it solves the problem today does not mean that long-term it will not bring other problems. Please, when we say punish and discipline, there are two different things, like Mrs. Chinelo mentioned. Punishment should I prefer the term consequence management. And when you say consequence management, then it gives you perspective, because that means that there must have been an action for there to be a consequence. It also means that you should have told the child that if you do A, X will be done. That's consequence. Consequence cannot be implemented if you had not pre-informed the individual of the consequence. So we need to, as parents, not be reactive. We need to be proactive. If a child does something and it's the first time they are doing it, please restrain yourself. Sit with that child, explain to them why they should not do what they are doing, have a conversation. And if you feel there's a need, then to inform them at that time of the consequence. So that when they now do it again, if they do it again, then you must now implement that consequence. Of course, there are scenarios where, by virtue of your family values, that's already cast in stone, and they contravene the family values. Look at that scenario, look at the circumstances. For example, like that girl who came to tell her father that she was pregnant. I mean, there was a bigger circumstance here, which is that she could have aborted that baby, but she didn't. So there would be consequences, but the more cogent issue at hand is, how do we help you as a child? So I believe I've answered. Okay, one last question. Any tips for mothers with clingy children? One of my 3-year-old twin would not just give me a breather, even in her sleep. Routine, structure, consistency. They will not like it. I would say you should start this during a break, during a holiday, and force it. If they come to your bed in the night, carry them back to their own bed, even if it's 10 times. It will be a difficult time. It will be a difficult transition time, which I tend to recommend for people. If you're on leave, for example, if you're a worker, then you can start this so that you're not, trying to get back to work and all of that. But you just need to be consistent. You need to keep enforcing it. You need to just continue. And with time, you will find that that child is evolving. And the child too will get the message. Mommy doesn't have room for this clinginess anymore. So, you said if he's walking by, he must touch you. He's clingy, more clingy than his sis. Yes, I have a child who enjoys hugging mommy, who enjoys, giving me hugs, walking by me. I know I'm his first girlfriend. I don't even need to be told because he treats me like his girlfriend. But sometimes I get him to say, "You're a young man. I will not do this. This is time for this." Again, structure solves a lot of problems. When your child is supposed to be studying, they're not going to have time to come and be hugging you. You get? Your child is supposed to be doing their chores. They should not come and be hugging you because maybe they're trying to get out of the chores. Let them face the chores. You tell them in a nice, calm manner, go and do A, B, C, D. We know that's what you're supposed to do. When you're done, come and give me a big hug. That way you're putting it in a schedule. Even the hugs and the expressions will not be contained within a schedule. And since he's a young man, I would say please let him be as expressive as you can allow him. As they go older, especially in our society, the society judges male children harshly, doesn't allow them to express themselves. So if you have an expressive male child, please don't kill it. Just contain it, channel it appropriately so that he can grow up to be an expressive young man. And that's a game changer for any male that's an African male, especially. Okay, at this point, we have done 4 minutes to 7. Wonderful, 1.5 hours after. I want to thank the 54 people who have shown stamina and are here. Thank you so much. I believe this is the time to round it off. For those who asked for the Zoom and the WhatsApp link, I believe you all got it. If you didn't, please just kindly indicate in the chat. If you did not get, for those who said they couldn't join in, I know somebody sent me a message this afternoon.